if they have a producer sell that account, there goes 60% of that out the door. There's $150 gone. You got to pay taxes on it. Call it 20%. There's another $30 gone. You got $120 left. You take a couple service calls on that account, paying a CSR $20, and you've got 2 or 3 hours of service work into that account. There's another $60 out the door. Now you've got to put the time into renewing the account. There's the rest of it. And you've made no money insuring that client at all. And in many cases, you've lost money.
Got questions, we bring the facts. From proven pros who walk the tracks. Business life, no smoke, just flames. Ask the experts, David Williams brings the game.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is that time of the week. It's that time of the day. It's February 27th. It's 10:30 a.m. in the Insurance Syndicate Group. And we are coming at you live with another incredible expert. As a matter of fact, we have a very, very special guest that many of you might know from the Insurance Syndicate Group right up here, none other than Kody Houk. He is somebody that's been really making an impact in the insurance industry. He's the founder of Prime Risk Insurance Solutions, the creator of Real Insurance Training, no-nonsense coaching program designed to help agency owners master their sales, scale their revenue, and after years of hands-on experience in risk management, insurance advisory, Kody built an agency, a lean, mean, disciplined machine focused on truly what moves the needle, generating revenue. Now he's helping other agency owners cut through the noise, redefine their sales processes, and build profitable books of business. With a strong reputation, knowledge, reliability, honesty, Kody has become a trusted advisor in the insurance space. We're thrilled to have you on the show. Welcome to the show, Kody.
Good to have you. What's up, guys? Happy to be here.
Great to have you.
Perfect. Well, what I like to do, I like to start off, every episode with is, man, tell us a little bit about your background. Where did it all begin? Because I know most of us that we find on these shows, experts, it all starts with humble beginnings. What was your kind of humble beginning? Where did you start? Where are you at today?
First generation insurance, man. Wasn't one of the guys that came up with the family agency or any interest in the industry at all. Came from a logistics background, more operations, consulting, things of that nature. And my buddy had still has a very successful captive agency and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it one day. And 2 weeks later, I was licensed and a producer under his agency. And then really appreciated what I learned there, learned the foundation of consultative selling. I know that you guys have some captive background too, and know that the education you can get in that there is very valuable. And I thank him for that to this day, but I was all personal lines. He handled all the commercial lines, kind of hit that 1-year wall that I've talked to a lot of agents that they hit. They're like, man, I don't know if I really want to do this. It's been a cool year, but kind of hitting that burnout, and left the industry for a little bit, went back to logistics operations. After another couple of years, I was like, that insurance thing wasn't too bad. I'm going to go explore some more jobs in insurance, and picked up a gig managing an independent agency. Had never been in an independent agency. Trying to learn easy links on the fly was fun, to say the least, after being in the captive environment. But started to learn the independent side and really started to see the opportunity for commercial, but didn't really have the knowledge to dive into it. And then COVID happened, and the owner of that agency came to me one day and said, hey man, we lost half of our book in Colorado and I can't afford to pay you anymore. So you can either stay here and transition to commission only sales, or I don't have anything for you. So at that point, I made the decision to go ahead and go out on my own right in the middle of a pandemic, and had never done it before. So opened up the initial agency as the Houk agency. I was just going to be your friendly neighborhood home and auto guy that so many agents try to do. And rode that struggle bus for a while, man. It was rough. I was working 2 jobs. I'd sell insurance half the year, and then I was guiding hunts professionally half the year to really pay my bills and try to bootstrap the agency. After a couple of years of that, started to make a pivot, man. And I'm sure we'll dive into this conversation a little bit more later, but 2 rebrands later, and the niche that I love and the new identity of the agency. Here we are.
Yeah, so I think one of the points that were there too. It doesn't always necessarily go the way you plan it on going. And the one thing I found the exact same thing, right? I think when you're in that place and it's like everything that we know and love, we think we're in a great place and a door shutting. We think it's the end of something, but it's usually the beginning of something much bigger. And I've noticed patterns, and I'm curious that in your life, if you notice those same patterns that, every time a door closed that you're disappointed, you didn't want it to close, or you tried to maybe force that door open when it inevitably shut. Every time I looked back on that, really, I didn't have anything to fear at all because a much bigger door was opening. God, the people that are listening of faith, I look at that as, hey, God was slamming a door shut that I didn't want to shut on my own because he had bigger plans for me. If you found that same thing happen time and time again in your career when a door shut?
Oh, Dave, you're speaking my language there, man. And that's exactly where I was going to go with that. Is it seemed like every time something like that happened, it came shortly after me asking God to push me into growth or to take me to the next level of responsibility. And then that door closes and you're like, oh crap, what am I going to do next? And then whatever time frame that is later, it always seems God says, remember you asked for this. And this is part of it.
No, I love it. I love it. Now, one of the reputations you have is being a lean, mean, and disciplined machine when it comes to your agency. Could you maybe unpack that a little bit? What would you say was dynamically different than the average operation and how you ran your model? So lean, when I hear that, there must have been maybe an abnormal profitability model that you ran across, but I'd be curious to, and I think our listeners would be curious, what did that look like and how did you run it different than the average agent?
So I mean, just to be clear, man, I'm still in agency every day. I'm not a guy that sold my agency and is now doing coaching. I'm on the ground in the fight with my guys in my program every day. I'm still out there selling every day, producing business, generating leads, man. But the main thing that flipped that switch for me was understanding the main KPI that I needed to focus on in growing the agency. And that was understanding revenue per client. And that less clients, more money equal less overhead, less service work, more profit. And I think
no, I love that. I love that. Let's go a little bit deeper on that. When you say revenue per client, what is that an X layer deep? What does that typically look like? Because I think everybody out there, they're measuring maybe a different set of KPIs.
Yep.
When they're looking at their KPIs, it's like, hey, we're looking at the talk time. How many quotes did I get? How many household sales did I get? Overall on the bottom line, but you're talking about revenue per client and potentially lifetime value per client. Walk us through how you look at that a little bit deeper than most.
I don't know if it's got to go very deep, man. I think as far as the revenue, well, I will say you've got to understand your service level per client as well. And that's really what I look at whenever I start working with an agency. It's the first number I want to look at, right? Because you look at a home and auto agency, say most agents I talk to, their average revenue per client, and I'm talking just per year, call it $250 commission that they're getting on an account. If they sell a home and auto, right? If they have a producer sell that account, there goes 60% of that out the door. There's $150 gone. You got to pay taxes on it. Call it 20%. There's another $30 gone. You got $120 left. You take a couple service calls on that account, paying a CSR $20, and you've got 2 or 3 hours of service work into that account. There's another $60 out the door. Now you've got to put the time into renewing the account. There's the rest of it. And you've made no money insuring that client at all. And in many cases, you've lost money. Whereas I run, and we'll talk about niches later, but the niche that I play in my ideal client profile, my average revenue per client right now is $4,000 a year. So
that's great.
Even at those numbers, if I break it down that way, same service amount, same commission, which I don't pay anybody commission. I'm the one in the agency selling. But even if I was paying a producer 60% of that, I'm still profiting $1,500 on that account for the year.
And now when you look at that, let's say you're going after that from a marketing perspective, what shifted in how you look at and analyze your marketing to achieve that objective? Because what I hear when that's the average, you got to be taking a much laser-like approach as opposed to most people taking that shotgun approach when it comes to your marketing efforts. And what does that typically look like in the day?
So we have accounts in the book. My lower end accounts, I've got some that are still in that $500 range. I don't outbound prospect on anything that isn't going to make me at least $2,500. And I know after quoting X amount of accounts over the years, what the framework of that company and what that picture looks like of that company for me to spend my time prospecting on them. I know that on an HVAC contractor, they need to be doing at least $1 million a year of revenue, need to have 2 employees, need to have at least 3 trucks in the fleet. And that's going to get me to the number that I need to get to. Right. So really diving into those metrics and understanding that ideal client profile was key in doing that. But we've got accounts in the books, we've kind of nixed a lot of the smaller ones. Largest account that we have right now is 31,000 of annual revenue. But
no, I love that. That's great.
We stick in that space between like 2,500 and 10K, right? That's a damn good place for smaller independent agencies to run, and it keeps you under the radar of the big shops that have the 10K plus minimums that they don't write anything under that. And if they do, it's in a small business unit that they're getting terrible service.
I love that. And what it sounds like really what you've done there is you've incorporated that commercial model pretty heavily alongside the P&C. So are you guys leading with commercial, or are you primarily going after business owners, leading with P&C and cross-selling the commercial? What is that? What does that overarching strategy look like? And then, what would you say, since you took a shift from just going after the middle of the run everyday consumer to going after business owners, what would you say the biggest thing in that shift that it created for your agency?
So first part of that, I burned the boats, and we don't do any personal lines, home and auto anymore. 100% commercial, and we only sell to contractors and home service businesses. Our entire branding has shifted to we are the blue collar business insurance broker. And
I love that.
That is our marketing strategy. So that was the big thing, man. And, I won't go too deep down the rabbit hole, but I think a lot of people are starting to see the future of personal lines fading, right? You have things like AI coming in, these operators that are going on in Chat GPT, things like that are insane. I just had an agent go through and run quotes on himself just by typing his info into Chat GPT, and it logged into every carrier that he had access to and did all the quotes for him, bindable, and I think it took him 10 minutes to get it all done. So, and if I'm being 100% honest, I got bored doing personal lines. So I'm a problem solver, man. I like to go deep. I like to have high level conversations, and diving into the commercial side, you just get to do that on a daily basis. And it's a different problem to solve every single day.
No, I love that. And I think there's a lot of myths out there around insurance too. I mean, especially you look at some of the captive carriers that might just really not be positioned to go after that commercial market. Like back in the day when I was with Allstate, it was, we had a very limited competitive market that we were in. And then as fast as we would get in it, profitability would get out of whack. They would non-renew everybody, and our retention wasn't where it needed to be because directionally, strategically, profitability, the carrier themselves couldn't figure out where to put the laser in terms of a target to really rein in that profitability. Yep. What do you have to say about some of those myths when it comes to commercial insurance where people think, hey, I shouldn't get into it, it's not profitable, it doesn't retain? How would you dispel those myths that, hey, it's maybe quite the opposite? Actually, I'm retaining that business, some of my most profitable business, and it's working, because it sounds like it's working really well for your operation.
It does work really well. And I think that it's dialing in being an expert in something, right? A lot of people do take that shotgun approach. I posted about this in Syndicate yesterday. You go into some networking meetings and you hear agents stand up, and the first thing, I'm so-and-so with so-and-so agency, and we specialize in home, auto, business, and life insurance. None of that is a specialty. You're just sounding like everyone else. So how do you set yourself apart? You've just commoditized yourself the same way that every other agent does. And with the state of the industry, the way that we have conditioned buyers to buy, it's all about price, right? You have the Dave Ramseys out there. You need to go shop your insurance every 2 to 3 years. Well, you probably should, but you should probably trust your broker to do that for you and take care of you, rather than you taking that into your own hands. And especially on the commercial side, handcuffing your broker every couple of years.
Yep.
And damaging your underwriting reputation.
And I'm 100% in alignment with that too. I mean, it's really got to be all about value. You know, the bigger problems that you solve that other people aren't solving, I believe you get paid in proportion to the size of the problems that you solve. So if you can go out there with a different mousetrap, add value in a way that nobody else is typically adding value in the industry, you're going to stand out above everybody else. And that's exactly what we would teach our folks is like, hey, before we get started here today, I want to let you know, we do things a little bit differently at our agency. We're going to ask you questions that you've likely never been asked before. And I want to apologize in advance for all the other agencies that you've quoted that haven't asked you these questions because they should have. Yep. You know, it's kind of like walking into a doctor's office. How comfortable would you feel if you're having chest pains? You're incredibly concerned because your health is very important. Well, I would say, you know, the second most important thing to your health is going to be your financial future that can, oh, by the way, affect your health. But the same way your doctor should be asking you the right questions to figure out, hey, where are your symptoms coming from? I'm going to ask you a series of questions today to figure out what sort of assets that you have to determine what we really need to protect. And then get confirmation from them, hey, you know, I bet you nobody's ever asked you these questions, right? And now what that does is you actually just created a frame that now when they try to say, hey, I want to go shop around, well, what do you think the statistical odds are that you're going to go out there and find somebody that if over 30 years you just told me you've found nobody that's ever asked you the questions that I asked you today, and you know you should have been asked those questions, what do you think the randomness that if you go out and get some quotes for another 3 days, a week, or a month, that you're going to find somebody? I think you know, and I know you found the right person out here that's going to do right by you. And we just got to take care of what we need to take care of today so you can, you know, rest your head easy at night knowing that you have the right coverage that you need and deserve. And that's why I love working with people like you, because I can already tell while you might not have the right coverages that you need to have, you have better coverages than most. And there's a lot of people out there that will sacrifice what matters most, protecting their family, protecting their assets, but not you. You think differently. And that's where I love working with people like you. So now what you just do too is you cast that person in a frame of your perfect avatar. And what don't they want to do at the end of the call? They don't want to step outside of that frame. They want to be the person that does what's right to protect the financial future of their family, of their business, of the people they love around them. And it's like, hey, let's figure out where to find the money everywhere. I get it. Everybody's on a budget, but hey, I'm so committed to serving you. I'm willing to get on the phone with you to help you dig into your Verizon bill and all the other, probably the 13 Netflix subscriptions you might have and you don't know about. And we can find that $50 a month somewhere else, but not where it matters the most to protect you and your family.
Sounds like you and I came up selling under the same framework in the personal lines, man. It is incredibly effective. And I mean, we in that captive environment, using that very similar framework like that, very similar talk tracks, man, we were pushing 90% closing rates on every lead that came in.
Yeah, and you can shift it.
Going out the door with higher coverage, just spending more money.
Oh, 100%. And you can shift it, right? And a lot of people don't realize, hey, maybe you're not going to get everybody. Even when I do that, hey, I don't get everybody. But if you could double your close rate, which I think is possible in a lot of scenarios, because everybody is in that transactional churn and burn, churn and burn, churn and burn. I think to your point, where this comes first circle, this conversation is now, if you were to analyze your payroll and effectively get, you know, maybe your people are closing, hey, one in 14, 1 in 12 quotes, whatever that might be, and you can get it down to like 1 in 6, 1 in 7. And then you were to analyze your payroll, analyze your marketing efforts, crunch those numbers, and now recalculate your lifetime value just because you're showing up differently, you're operating differently, and you're closing at a much higher rate. Well, that's a variable that we can control in the lens where, you know, insurance is shifting so radically. And I think too many people are worried about too many things that they cannot control. Your carrier changed the rates. Guess what? You can't control it. Your carrier changed your renewals. You can't control it. You can get out of the business. That's certainly your decision. And I'm not saying wear rose-colored glasses around everything. But at the end of the day, if it's something you can't control, what are the controllables? So if you choose to remain with the carrier that you're at, if you choose to remain in the industry, that you have to do something that's within the realm of your control. And I think what we're talking about today and what you're talking about, going after that profitability, that customer lifetime value, getting the numbers up there. Hey, the close rates are double. And now my average revenue, I'm only going after a client base in a select niche that's giving me double to triple the revenue. Well, by obsessing over those two things, you could flip your agency upside down and be in a place of profitability like you've never seen before.
And I'll attest to that right now, man. Coming up, trying to be that friendly neighborhood home and auto guy, right? After 3 years of doing it, I was at $30,000 of revenue in my book.
Yep.
Beating my head against the wall, having to work 2 jobs. Honestly, I was ready to fold it in and sell. And I saw this event going on from these guys that honestly I didn't even care for them much, but I knew there'd be a room full of business owners there. And I went and walked in and I was like, I'll try to get a lead or two out of this conference today. Heard some of the speakers there and took some of the strategies out of that. And that was the spark that changed everything. And, 2.5 years later, went from 30K in revenue to 500. And that's, that it changed everything. And I love that you talk about the controllables, because that is everything that I focus on. And I think that's a big hole that agents fall into is, you hear people say, I'm building on referrals. I'm cashing in on, my social media. I'm doing this, that's all great. None of that's controllable. Unless you really dial in your ad strategies, you can't predict how many referrals you're going to get a week. You can't predict how many leads are going to come off of Facebook or any other platform, but I can control how many calls that I make every day, which I know after doing it for 90 days, how many decision makers I'll have a conversation with and how many of them are going to get interested and how many presentations I'm going to do, which is going to lead to how many accounts I'm going to close. That's all controllable.
100%. And then, I think when it comes to that too, when you're looking at, you talk about social media, it's more, hey, what can you do to really build an effective brand on social media? Because, when it comes down to this sort of selling, it's all about relationships, people that know, like, and trust you. And there's no better way to get somebody to know, like, and trust you by having your brand on social media. So as opposed to maybe leaning in and, hey, I'm going to try to grow my book off of this, generate leads off of this on something that's tough to measure and tough to impact. But, what if you just, leaned into the whole thing that you can control, build a brand, and then like what we did in our one company Team Hired, we took our service staff and literally made 50% of their compensation all around customer success. Yep. We wanted to be, the known for customer success in the industry, obsessing over how we deliver for our client. So, we do it at a third of the time, a third of the cost, and we're the only one out there that I've found so far. Nobody's been able to prove me otherwise. And we actually bet people a steak dinner. Hey, if you come to us, prove us wrong. We'd love to hear about it. Who else do you know out there that's got over 4,000 online positive reviews between Google, video testimonials on our website, Better Business Bureau, and everything else? Well, that's our obsessive commitment to the insurance industry and how we can help staff your agency. And now what that kind of does is it gives you such sharp social proof that it just goes hand in hand with the marketing strategy to validate everything that you're saying, because how could 4,000 people be wrong?
And that's 100% it right there, man. I tell the guys that come into my program, and I share this all over, that when you're doing your outbound prospecting, whether that's cold calling, emails, whatever that is, when someone agrees to take a meeting with you, what's the first thing they're going to do?
They're going to look you up.
Try to find out who the hell you are and validate that you're the person you're telling them that you are, and that you can solve the problems you're telling them you're going to solve. And if they can't find that type of content on your social platforms, they're going to cancel the meeting or just no show on you.
Oh, absolutely.
It's got to exist. It's got to exist. Your the social platforms are your new resume.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Now, let's, stay on the topic of marketing when you're going out there. Obviously, you got the brand influence, but I'd be curious, the way you're marketing, because a lot of our listeners that are out there, they might be just doing the old PNC game. They're buying internet leads. They're buying warm transfers. They got telemarketing in. They're dialing lists. And they want to get in and carve out a niche in the commercial aspect. What have been like top 3 of your, looking at arrows in the quiver that's allowing you to blow up the commercial aspect inside of your agency? What do those top 3 marketing methods, look like when it comes to filling up your calendar and getting in front of those commercial business owners?
My top 3 are my only 3, man. And I think they're the only 3 that matter. 1, you have to have a cold outbound strategy. You 100% have to. There is no avoiding it. When you're going B2B, cold calling is still alive and well. Your people want to talk to people again, because we're coming out of that period where everybody automated everything, all the robocalls. If they actually get a real person on the phone, they're willing to have conversations. So,
and how does it open it up? Because, obviously TCPA guidelines are a little bit different when it comes to B2B versus B2C. How has that played a dynamic too? Circumventing some of the stricter TCPA guidelines that a lot of agents have to face on the consumer side that maybe are not prevalent on the business side? How has that kind of expanded your horizons on how you can go market?
So most of that stuff applies to B2C, right? And when we're cold calling on business owners, again, we've got an ideal client profile, and typically every business we call has a gatekeeper. So we're calling them an office line. We're not calling cell phones. So gets rid of a lot of that restriction. Obviously, if somebody's putting us on a DNC list, we're honoring that. We're not calling them again. It's not too hard to stay compliant there. But that's the strategy on the cold side. And guys, I will never tell anybody that I've got some secret sauce to cold calling, and anybody that tells you they do, just run the other way, because it doesn't. Oh, yeah. It's all numbers. It's going to be a 1 to 2% success rate, but it is a pipeline filler, and you may not even get through to gatekeepers. But I'll tell you what, man, or decision makers, but gatekeepers are handing DM email addresses out like freaking Halloween candy every day. So now you can get them on an email list where you can drop some content relevant to them and try to gain that interest. And that's a big mistake I think people make in prospecting too. One of my favorite books I've ever read is Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt.
Yeah.
And he says you have to get out of this short-term mindset of you're calling to close the deal today. You have to look at what effect this is going to have on your pipeline for the next 3 to 5 years.
Yep.
And we can't be short-sighted when we go into this. So again, you got the cold component of it. You have to have a strong social strategy to back that up for the reasons we've already said, both organic, and you've got to have some kind of paid strategy going too, whether that's just, a $10 a day drip on brand awareness in local markets or something. You've got to have some exposure out there, both for your personal brand and the business. And 3 is in person, whether that is targeted in-person drops after you've gathered DM information and you can do some research on the company. Or I'm a huge fan of associations and local masterminds where you're in rooms with your ideal client all the time. I'm not a BNI guy. I don't want to go sit with Tupperware salespeople and Juice Plus reps. I want to get in rooms full of contractors.
No, absolutely.
All of that blossoms into bigger opportunities. This weekend, I'm actually have the opportunity on Saturday, have the opportunity to do a keynote at an event that's going to have 600 contractors in the room.
No,
on your point of cold calling, I'll just drop in a quick strategy I learned because I was put in a B2B cold calling environment where it was like, hey, make $250 a day. And one mistake I would make is I would work like 5,000 business owners at one time and call through the entire list once. And then when I concentrated it, and I'd take maybe 500 and I'd call through that list 5 or 10 times. And then you might get some low hanging fruit, but it was more a game of like, okay, out of the 500 that I've banged on for 3 weeks now, who are maybe the 30 that express some kind of interest? They didn't hang up on me. There's just a twinkle of hope. Now I'm going to concentrate all my efforts on those 30. Maybe I'm going to do social media outreach now. Maybe I am going to do that text campaign. But it was really more of like, don't go after 5,000 people at once. Do a more concentrated group. Go on your first pass. You're just farming. You're just banging pots and pans like the Bates Circus coming to town. Hey, we're here. We can help you. And then you're gathering information. And to your point, it could be a 90 or 120 or 365 day cycle, but it's like batching your data instead of going after all of it at once.
No, 100%. And to anybody that thinks I'm telling you, go make 250 dials a day on insurance, I would never do that. I'm a 50 dial a day guy. Go carve out 2 hours of your day to dedicate to putting names in your pipeline. Go buy an Insurance X-Date subscription, pull a list of 200 per month, call them 4 times for the month. If you don't get them on the phone, you're probably going to at least get their email address during that time. Have some back-end drips to go to it so you can start to try to make a connection with them. But 50 dials a day isn't hard. And if you're doing 50 a day on accounts that will net you a minimum of 2,500 in revenue, I guarantee it. You stick to it. You call 4 days a week, every month, you'll put 100K of new revenue in the bank just off cold calling.
No, I love that. I love that. And I think, a lot of people are listening sometimes. They get caught up in the details, the small stuff, figuring it out, and then obsess over it and then get paralyzed over it and never start.
Yep.
So when I look at a couple of other things that are maybe missing from the conversation here is maybe could you share, hey, a basic high level overview, hey, talk path, what it looks like when you're calling or one of your folks are calling for this commercial niche to get through the gatekeeper. And where can somebody maybe source some good lists? Because a lot of times, people are promising the best data in the planet, but more times than not, the data is garbage. And then all of a sudden, like, your results are as good as the list because the list is wrong. But then maybe you have a good list, but you don't have a good talk path, and people hang up on you over and over and over again, and then you quit before you start. So what do you have to say about those two action items there?
I am the hugest proponent of keep it simple, right? I get the I have the insurance X date subscription. I go build my 90-day X date list off of there. That's who I'm calling. And it is such a simple conversation of, you get the gatekeeper, ask who's in charge of the insurance program. If they put you through, you get them on the phone. Hey, just wondering if you're willing to have a conversation around your insurance program this year. Your renewal's coming up. Want to see if you'd be willing to have a conversation. You're going to get a yes or no. There's a couple objections they might throw at you. Oh, we've been with the same agent for 20 years. We just changed agents. I'm not a big fight to the objections guy. I'm not going to create problems for people that don't exist. If you have a problem today I can help with, let's have a conversation. If you don't, I'd like to stay in contact with you for the next 3 to 5 years. And if a problem comes up, I'd love to talk then. Mm-hmm. It's no pressure. It's positioning yourself not as a salesperson. It's, I'm a problem solver. If you've got problems, let's talk about them. If not, I'm not here to create problems.
Yep. No, I love that.
Awesome.
Love it. Love
it.
And
I'm curious about the other, go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. What I'm curious about as well is, like, what else have you layered in underneath or on top of the calls? Obviously we see you on social media and see you there. I don't know if social is a commercial prospecting tool for you or other areas, but I'd be curious what maybe those other 2 or 3 pillars are in your prospecting for commercial.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's the cold calling, it's the social, and it's the in-person. That's I teach my 3 pillars of prospecting right there. Social has honestly become the biggest lead generator for me. And I think people look at it wrong. I've been harping on this for a while. It is the greatest sales tool that exists on planet Earth right now. And you have to get out of this mindset that it's this place for you to treat it like your personal journal or a place to go vent about whatever. Everything you do should be strategic. Every post that you make should have a purpose. Even if it's a personal post about your personal life, there should be a purpose behind it. I want this to resonate with someone that I'm trying to connect with on a business level. And it's not manipulative. Some people might think that's manipulative. It's not. It's real life, but it attracts your ideal client too, right? Because I try to do business with people who are living the same kind of life I'm living. We're going to connect on a deeper kind of level.
Is it like mainly driven off of posts, or are you direct messaging people? Is it reels that you're putting out? Is it sort of just the whole ecosystem? Like, tactically, what are the things that are actually generating that, that inbox to you or that interested business owner?
I'm not a big DM guy, man. I think that it leaves a bad taste in my mouth every time I get one because it's the same thing every time. It feels very disingenuous. Some people might be having success with that. I'm not that guy. But it's mostly the posts, it's the reels, real hard on stories. And, some people will put down the boost feature on all these. I think that the boost feature and running your profile as a professional profile is one of the greatest tools that Meta has allowed us to do, because now we can target people with our just personal brand posts. So I can get my content in front of who I want it to be in front of at any time. And that's been huge, man. That, my largest account, the one that's over 30K in revenue, I had just started this daily posting, and it wasn't even about insurance. It was, I'd go on a morning walk with my ruck vest on and just shoot a little morning thought video. Well, I dropped some money to sponsor this contractor event, ended up in the booth next to this guy. And I went and did my little 2-minute commercial on stage, came back to my booth. He's like, hey man, my work comp renewal is coming up and I hate my agent. You seem like a cool dude. I've seen you all over social the last few weeks. How do I just make you my agent? Well, there's this nice little letter right here that you can sign, and then it's all said and done. We don't even got to change anything. That year, that was a $9,000 account. This year, they were a $31,000 account.
Boom.
That's awesome.
Love that. Love that.
The know, like, and trust factor still lives very healthily, especially when it comes to, I'd say, upper small market to lower middle market commercial. There's a lot of things that get taught out there. You know, agents see these shiny middle market education opportunities. One, their agency is not set up to handle that kind of business. I learned that pretty quick. I actually had an opportunity at like a $250,000 revenue account when I started cold calling. Got somebody on the phone that was just pissed with their agent, ready to sign a BOR. And then I started diving into the size of the account, and I'm like, there's no way I could even service this thing. I'd make myself look like a fool taking on this account because I don't have the resources. But people want to go spend their time learning how to do that when they'll never even be suited to write that kind of business. But they can make a hell of a living in that $2,500 to $10,000 revenue range.
Love that. Love that. Now, you know, we talk about going into a niche, right? We're not talking about trying to go after everybody and anybody. You're going after a niche. But I'd be curious your thoughts on this, because I've found this to be valuable in itself, of going out there and being your true authentic self. Because I think a lot of people go out there, they're business owners, and then all of a sudden they think, well, what if my customer gets offended? Or what if my customer thinks this? Or what if my customer thinks that? So they go from being this, you know, completely genuine, authentic person, being who they truly are in the face of, you know, how they're trying to grow their business, to this vanilla, politically correct, try to please everybody. I've just found when you try to please everybody, you please nobody. But hasn't been a historical figure on this planet that everybody liked, including Jesus Christ. And what I've found is when you just go out there and you stay in the lane of, hey, being your genuinely authentic self, like myself, I go out and talk about politics a lot on my side, you know, my perspective on it. But what I find is I attract a lot of like similar people, a lot of my tribe, a lot of the perfect customer that I want to work with. Yep. And a lot of the people that it maybe weeds out or it offends, they're the opposite of my perfect customer. I would be curious what you have to say about just authenticity, going out there, being yourself, and attracting the right tribe that are your right customers.
I love that you bring this point up, Dave, because one of my mentors shared this a while back. He said, not everyone's going to like you, but every single person can and should trust you. They should know exactly who you are and trust that you are who you say you are at any time. And love that even made a shift for me in the way that I present myself, because I'd go into some of these networking meetings and the slacks, the button ups, right? You know, the cuts and the freaking loafers got in style for a while. And I was like, oh, these guys are dressing like that. I'm going to throw that style on and see what happens. That wasn't me. And it really was after I heard him say that things changed, man. And honestly, I'll walk into sales meetings just like this, man. Built t-shirt, hat. I'm the guy that's got the ink all over. Like, I'm not your typical insurance guy by any means, but it's me.
Yep.
It's who I am. And much like you said, it attracts the people like me that I can just be real with all the time.
No, I love it. I love it. And again, I found that too, because I was in that place at one point too. I was like, what, should I share this? Or what if somebody gets offended by this? But now I'm of the mindset, hey, you know, I'm going to wear my MAGA hat and I'm going to be right here, whether you like it, you don't like it, but my tribe is going to come to me. That's my freaking tribe. And I think that's the more people start doing that, because not only is it going to help your business, just being authentically who you are. This is who I am. I'm not going to hide it. But the more you start doing that, it's something incredibly liberating inside too, because now you're not trying to be this facade that's pleasing everybody and everything, but it's absolutely exhausting. And you're dealing with the people that might disagree with you on a regular basis. That's absolutely exhausting. You're just being you around other people that are being themselves. And I found that there's just, no better feeling than that.
So let's get deeply personal, because you're asking what really switched this for me, especially in the insurance space. So I did a keynote at the Big I convention out here in Arizona last year. And it was kind of a special day for me. I spent a lot of time in prayer as to what I was going to talk about. And God kept saying, you got to share your real testimony with people.
Love that.
I think that has been such a game changer here too, because I'm a firm believer that every stage God puts us on is just another stage to glorify him, not us.
Absolutely.
And I was terrified to do this, and obviously sharing this on this stage right now, many people don't know that side of me, but that day I gave that keynote was 9 years to the day from when I overdosed. I spent a decade as a cocaine addict.
Wow.
And I was losing my family. My life was an absolute mess, and God saved me from that, man. It was deep, and I had never shared that in the insurance space before. And God's like, no, that's the vulnerable you is who is going to show up to this. And the real you is who is going to show up to this conference. And I had 5 people, room was full. Afterwards, I had 5 people in that room come up to me and say, Kody, I thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that here, because it's so taboo. And I struggle. I'm currently in recovery, and I feel that I can't talk about it with anybody because it'll cost me my job. And just hearing you share that is very freeing.
No, I love that, brother. And thank you for sharing that too. And I think, that's something I'm a big believer into, wear our faith on our sleeve. Matter of fact, I'm wearing a bracelet here. It's Matthew 19:26. Through God, all is possible, meaning that nothing is impossible. So if you're in a place, you're in a setback, you're sitting in a setback, you feel a little bit cemented in a setback, just know that God's on your side, baby. And when you're in alignment with his assignment, where he wants you to be where your feet are, and you lean into it, just remember there's nothing not possible. And then compare it to, hey, we got people that are putting people on the moon. We got people that are building rockets and going to Mars. And when you think about what they're accomplishing and the problems that they're overcoming, it kind of dwarfs your problems to a sense. It makes them a lot smaller and makes you critically think at a different level on how you can solve them and how you can approach those those problems. But I think when you go out there, you're your true authentic self, and you're living in his assignment. I walk in faith in everything that I do. And I've always found the rest is taken care of. If I'm doing God's work, I've found the rest is taken care of. Even, go back to the political side for a minute. I go out there very brash, very bold, and speak against some of the things that are out there. Some people will look at that. Oh my God, can't believe he said that. That was crazy. That's uncompassionate. Well, I think it's uncompassionate not to boldly speak against some of the wickedness that's going on in our country, that's damaging our kids. It's putting our kids down the wrong path. So when you actually analyze the ripple effect, like if you saw a kid about to get hit by a car, every one of us, no matter what our beliefs are, would run out in the middle of the street and save that kid. But sometimes it's the actions that are happening on the surface that we brand as virtue and this is great and compassionate, that are the very actions that have a ripple effect, that are the equivalent of that kid standing in front of a car, that were destroying people's lives. And, something spoke to me. I need to be unapologetically speaking out there. God gave me a voice. I need to use it. And I share this not to get into politics, but to impress upon people by going into something that was pretty taboo. Don't talk about religion. Don't talk about politics. Well, I did the exact opposite of that. And it attracted a lot of my tribe, and some of the engagement that I got was absolutely profound. But more importantly, I was being me, leaning into my personal beliefs that God's our creator, leaning into my faith. And then what I started to realize when I focused on God and just did it through a lens of faith, all of a sudden, boom, I'd look over here to the right and a business deal would happen that I never dreamed it was just happening. And it just happened. Like God provided. Like I give when I give and I feel like I don't have it to give. It's in those moments, in the places of scarcity, that I lean in faith and give to others that might be less fortunate to me. And at times I don't think I can do it. Boom, all of a sudden a $10,000 check happens the next week I didn't expect coming. And I just started to operate through that lens of faith. And it's just been this instrumental foundation in everything that I do in my businesses.
I echo all of that, man. It's same with me. I've had prospects on the phone that I get them on and they just immediately jump into, man, been a bad day dealing with this. Well, let's just stop this business conversation right here. I'd like to pray with you for a minute and just bring some peace before we start this conversation. And even the training program, man, like it's been super cool to see who God is bringing into that, and everybody sharing that mindset. And it's not just about business in the training group, man. I've experienced some major life changes from recovering addict. I'll be 10 years sober this year.
Congrats, man.
Took a huge health journey last year. I was over 300 pounds. This morning I jumped on the scale at 244, and that's been a major change and a huge cog in this whole thing for me, is getting my health in order, how that's affected my mental discipline and the things that I do every day. it's personal life. If the people in the group are struggling with marriage, man, like, let's jump on a one-on-one and talk about it. I'd love to help you and provide some mentorship there. Like, it's not just about insurance. All of this comes together for us to be who God created us to be.
Oh, 100%. And I think, it does really, at the end of the day, you look at it, it's not about insurance, but at the same time, it is about insurance too, because, without your faith, like, you're not going to grow a business. I don't think it's going to be as fruitful as it could be, without prioritizing your family, and you don't have your family behind your back. Like, you're not going to build a business as fruitful as it's going to be without putting your health first. Like, one day you're going to wake up and lose your health and spend all your wealth trying to get back your health. So I think it's important to put some of these pillars first and foremost. And a lot of people don't realize, hey, by going out there, having these type of raw conversations, being your authentic self, how much power they have through the ripple effect or the butterfly effect. Because if you simply looked at it, hey, I want to reach 1 million people with my message, well, that could seem pretty daunting. But if you actually looked at it through another lens, I want to empower 100 people through my message to go and empower 100 people that are going to go empower 100 people. Well, that sounds a lot simpler. I can reach 100 people and teach them how to reach 100 people. And then they could teach them to reach 100 people. Well, that's 1 million people. So I think if you do things through a different perspective and you slice things a little bit different way, and you do it with intention to create a ripple effect, like, you can invoke really good change. But it doesn't happen by being, hey, the vanilla person that's out there that doesn't want to ruffle any feathers, that I don't want to be my authentic self. So I'm literally got this insurance agent facade on, this mechanical come get insurance through me. That doesn't connect or relate to anybody. The type of conversations that we have today inevitably are going to turn off 30% of the viewers. But 70% of the viewers that are watching this right now are going to connect. They're going to resonate. And you know what? Who knows? Maybe we have 10 of those viewers that are on here that are part of the 100 that are going to go out and empower the 100 that are going to go out and empower the 100. And then through this message, we're going to reach people a different way, think people a different way, and they're going to wake up tomorrow and act a little bit different way that's going to shape and shift their business in a way they never expected.
Amen to that, man. That's what this is all about. That's what it's all about, man. I've got 15 guys in the real training program now. And if no one else ever joins, it served its purpose, because those guys' lives are changing financially. I've got one guy in there. He's been at it for 3 years. Agency was at 70,000 of revenue after 3 years. He joined in December. He's averaged 10 grand of revenue a month since he joined. Game changing for him. And to see him personally develop like that, and his mentality and the conversations that we're having now, just after 90 days, and what his goals are for his life now that he sees that that's possible, is freaking incredible. And
absolutely.
If no one else ever came in there again, I'd walk away and say, you know what? I changed one life.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing there is the importance. Sometimes it's not just what you know, but it's who you know that can also enhance what you know. And then the community of the people around you that you know. Because I think there's so many people out there that one of their detriments is they're out on an island all alone. And then when they find themselves on the island, they're resonating with other people that are on the island. So they're resonating with other people that are maybe not winning. When you got to be around other people that are winning so you can learn how to win, you got to be around mentors that have already gone to the destination that you're looking to go, that have the roadmap, that have the compass, that can help you get there with the swiftness. Humble yourself. One of the biggest things that you could do for you and your family is just say 3 words: I need help. And I think if you go to the right people that have been to the place that you've been today, everybody that's winning in life used to be at one point in a place they had to say those 3 words: I need help. And there's an emotional detachment to that. There might be a PTSD to that till they finally figured it out. But if you use those powerful words, the right people will resonate with them, and they will help you, and they'll help you get to where you want to go, just like yourself. And that's why I think everybody needs a coach, right? Everybody needs a coach when it comes to, hey, I got a business and I'm trying to do this. Well, you shouldn't be doing it without the guidance of an expert, because they can help you get back more of the most valuable commodity on the planet, which is time, and accelerate your path. So it maybe takes you a fraction of the time. Time is money. And that investment with that coach will not cost you money. That's going to save you money. But it doesn't stop there too. Like, You know, when I look at it, I say this all the time when it comes to coaching, mentoring. I got a coach and a mentor for my spiritual side, you know, multiple. I have a coach and a mentor on the business side, multiple. When it comes to my finances, when it comes to taxes, I have a coach and a mentor, multiple. I meet with a different CPA every quarter because I don't know what I don't know. And the IRS code is so thick, they don't know what they don't know. And I mix it up a little bit. My health, I have a coach when it comes to that, my fitness, you know, and so all these different things, you know, I got a therapist. I think every entrepreneur, I think everybody needs a good therapist just to unpack some of the things that we deal with in life, because life isn't rosy like everybody paints it to be. Like it should be this, hey, I don't have any stress, worry, or angst, but the reality is the opposite of that. And you need a sounding board to bounce off of sometime to unpack that the right way, so it doesn't become an anchor weighing you down, but you can have a clear head to move forward.
And I love that you bring that up, man. It's not a sales pitch at all, but I myself am the same way. I'm 6 figures into coaching the last couple of years. I've got an insurance concepts coach that's all he does with me. I've got a marketing coach that just coaches me on Meta products. I've got a different marketing coach that coaches me on all the Google things, Google SEO, YouTube, totally separate coach. Therapy a couple times a month. The health, I mean, but all of that investment has provided, you know, I love that Hermosi says it quite a bit. He says, stop investing so much in the S&P 500 and put it in the SME 500.
Yeah,
and your IOI is going to be 1,000,000 times higher.
I love that. The SME 500. That's some of the best place. If you're wondering out there, you got some excess cash working, you put it, the SME 500 is probably one of the best places you can do, because while the stock market can crash, the one thing that you'll always have for you is what you acquire up here. And that's why I have full confidence. I wouldn't ever want it to happen. You know, I'm always running away from that monster every day. But if I want the zero tomorrow, dude, I get it back like that. And it's because nobody's ever going to take away from me what I've learned. So when people out there see me investing, traveling, going to all these events, all these masterminds, all these mentors, all these coaches, why are you doing that? Why are you spending your money on that? Well, YouTube's free. Well, no, it's a little bit different. Like being in the room is like being in the ecosystem and being incredibly intentional. Like it's absolutely changed my life. And it's like built something within me that, again, nobody can ever take away. And every time I level up, what I find is, as a leader, it's my duty, it's my responsibility to lever up for the sake of others, because ships raise the tide, right? And if I can level up, all the people, my team members, everybody else indirectly are going to level up with me. They're going to learn from me. They're going to model me. They're going to shadow me. And, you know, all the people in my network, you know, get to kind of go along with the journey. So it's not just a me thing. So yeah, it's, you know, investing in yourself, but at the same time, it's creating a ripple effect that invests into others. And, you know, this has been an incredible show. I think we could go on for another hour, 2 hours here. And it's been amazing having you on here and having people get to know you. You know, what I like to do at the end here is ask one final question. Then we'll get into, hey, how do people follow you? How do they work with you? What does that look like? But if you had one thing today and you didn't know if you're going to be on this earth, you know, a week from now, but you had to leave one thing that you could leave everybody with today, related to insurance, related to business, whatever that you want to leave with people that would sum up your legacy, that would impact the lives of others that are listening here, as this program is evergreen on the internet for years and years to come. What would that one thing that you would want to drop? And feel free to take a moment, because I know it's a deep question, on you know, what you would want to leave with the audience members today.
That is really deep, man. And the one overarching thing that is just I tell with everyone is develop a relationship with God, and ask him what your purpose in life is. Because it's as simple as that. That's what I want my legacy to be. Is I want people to know Jesus because of the way that I loved him.
Yep, I love that. And I 100% agree with that too. And I think, you know, that's one of those things I'll say, you know, out there that some people might call controversial. Don't talk about politics. Don't talk about God. Well, how can you not talk about politics when it's involved in every facet of your life and every facet of your business, and it has such a profound effect? And then even more importantly, you know, put God first in everything that we do, right? So that's got to be at the base foundation of whether we're building a business, we're building a family, we're building a career, whatever it might be. And how could that possibly be taboo to talk about? It almost makes you question and wonder, who put that myth and that notion out there, because as these kind of myths, I like to call them, have been popping up, it's kind of ironic how our country, our education system, and everything has been getting a lot further away from God. So one would argue, is that providing value to our society, leaning into that? I think it does the opposite. So I think more people like you need to go out there, wear it on your sleeve, you know, and talk about it. And I think it's going to change lives, and it's going to make other people comfortable to, you know, talk about something that we should be able to talk about, and not be concerned about how everybody's going to feel about it or somebody getting offended.
Yep. 100%.
And I guess last but not least, man, how do people follow you, and what does it look like, the different capacities to work with you?
Yeah, you guys can just go look up my name on any social platform. I'm there, Kody with a K, KODYHOUK. If anyone wants to check out some of the resources that I actually have 5 free trainings you can go check out at therealresources.com. Jump in there. I've got several and a couple scripts in there that you can use to get started cold calling if you want to. And another little plug, I just released my first book last week. If you are an insurance agent wanting to get into the blue collar niche, I just released the Blue Collar Business Insurance Blueprint. You can get a pre-launch signed copy at codyhouk.com.
Boom. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for your time coming on today. This is going to be, an incredible episode. I think we unpacked a lot of really important things. And if you look at a lot of our episode, there's a lot of commonality in terms of the framework and the things to focus on that lead to having a successful business and a successful life. But, everybody make sure to give Kody here a lot of love, whether you're watching it live or you're watching it on the rerun. And this has been another episode that we brought to you in the Insurance Syndicate Group here today, February 27th. And we're looking forward to coming at you next week again with another killer expert and another killer episode here on Ask the Experts. But until then, we are out.